Many thanks for joining us. We are still on a situation in the Middle East, but this time around we are going to the Afghanistan and Pakistan border where explosions have been heard in Afghan capital Kabul, with Taliban forces saying they opened fire at Pakistani aircraft as the conflict stretched into a fourth consecutive day. Allahu Akbar! ولا مجاهدة ولا باكستان وبوستو ولا مدغه زیاده مجاهده الله اکبر
د پاکستانی ځواکونو له لوري په ننګرهار او پکتیا ولایتونو کې د هوایي بریدونو د غچ اخیستنې په موخه باندې همدا شیبه د جمعې شپه 8 بجې دي په شرقي زون کې د 201 خالد بن ولید رضی الله تعالی عنه قل اردو سرحدي او پیاده ځواکونو له طرف نه په ننګرهار او کونړ ولایتونو کې پر ذکر خطا سرمه د پاکستانی ملیشو په پوسټو باندې درنه غزا پیل شوه.
Afghanistan Taliban government said its forces deployed anti-aircraft and missile defense systems against Pakistani jets that entered Afghan airspace early on Sunday morning. This included thwarting an attempted Pakistani strike on Bagram, the former U.S. military base north of Kabul that U.S. President Donald Trump expressed interest in reoccupying last year. To give us further insight on this matter, I am privileged to speak with Mohammed Raza Hadira, a former provincial reporter, Radio Television, Afghanistan. Mr. Raza, I would like you to walk us through the situation in Pakistan and Afghanistan right now. Can you explain in your own words what has caused the recent escalation of conflict between Pakistan and Afghanistan, especially the recent strikes and fighting?
Escalation between Pakistan and Afghanistan, the result of a long history of mistrust, resolved political disputes, and shifting regional dynamics. Tensions have grown sharper since 2021, when the Taliban returned to power and the political landscape of the region changed dramatically. After the fall of the Taliban in 2001, the Afghan Republic sought to reduce its dependence on Pakistan by opening new trade routes through Iran and Central Asia. This gradually weakened Pakistan's traditional economic leverage. At the same time, Afghan officials repeatedly accused Pakistan of providing sanctuary to Taliban leaders, allegations Pakistan denied, though many analysts believed Islamabad maintained influence over the movement. Taliban regained control in 2021. Pakistan expected a cooperative relationship. Instead, relations deteriorated. Pakistan accuses the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, TTP, of using Afghan territory to plan and launch attacks. It frames its cross-border strikes as defensive actions. The Taliban authorities reject these accusations and view Pakistan's strikes as violations of Afghan sovereignty. Another factor is the Taliban's effort to diversify their foreign relations, including outreach to regional powers such as India, which has made Pakistan uneasy. In short, the recent escalation is driven by historical mistrust, disputes over militant groups, cross-border attacks, and shifting geopolitical expectations on both sides.
Thank you so much, Mr. Reze. Now, judging from your last words, the recent escalation is driven by historical mistrust, disputes over militant groups, cross-border attack, and shifting geopolitical expectations on both sides. So my next questions will be, why do Pakistan and Afghanistan continue to have tensions and clashes along their shared border? What are the main political or security issues fueling these fights?
Along the Pakistan-Afghanistan border persist because of a combination of historical, political, and security-related factors. The Durand Line dispute remains a central issue. Afghanistan has never formally recognized the border, arguing that it divides Pashtun communities. Disagreement has fueled mistrust for decades. Militant activity, especially involving the TTP, is a major driver of conflict. Pakistan claims TTP fighters operate from Afghan territory and conduct attacks inside Pakistan. Taliban authorities deny this, creating a cycle of accusation and retaliation. Deep political distrust continues to shape relations. Afghan governments accused Pakistan of supporting the Afghan Taliban. Pakistan accuses the Taliban government of failing to act against anti-Pakistan militants. Mutual suspicion keeps the border volatile. These factors, historical disputes, ethnic dynamics, and security concerns, create a fragile environment where even small incidents can escalate into armed clashes.
Thank you so much for that insight. And I'd like also to talk about roles right now. What roles do militant groups like the TTP or other armed groups play in conflict between these two countries?
Militant groups play a central and structural role in the tensions between Afghanistan and Pakistan. The 1,500-kilometer border runs through rugged tribal regions where state authority has historically been weak. This geography has long allowed armed groups to move, reorganize, and find refuge. During the Afghan Civil War and the rise of the Taliban in the 1990s, this frontier became safe corridors for various factions. Time, these areas evolved into zones where multiple militant networks operated with relative freedom. The TTP is at the heart of the dispute. Pakistan accuses the group of using Afghan territory to plan attacks, while the Taliban authorities reject these claims and highlight their own concerns about cross-border threats. The presence of such non-state actors blurs the line between domestic and regional security issues. Activities fuel mistrust, trigger border skirmishes, and complicate diplomatic engagement. Since militant groups are not a secondary factor, they're the core drivers of instability in Afghanistan-Pakistan relations.
Judging from what you just said, to follow up on your last word, it says here that militant groups are not a secondary factor. They are one of the core drivers of instability in Afghanistan and Pakistan reaction. So my next questions will be, in that light, how do the governments of Pakistan and Afghanistan justify the military actions or responses? And also, what reason does each provide for their decisions?
Justify their military actions through security narratives. Their perspectives differ sharply. Pakistan's position is that militant groups, particularly the TTP, operate from Afghan territory and pose a direct threat to Pakistan's internal security. Islamabad argues that cross-border strikes are defensive measures aimed at preventing attacks and pressuring the Taliban authorities to take action against these groups. Taliban authorities in Afghanistan reject these accusations and frame Pakistan's strikes as violations of Afghan sovereignty. They argue that Pakistan's actions undermine regional stability and that Afghanistan has the right to respond to any breach of its territory. Behind these official narratives lies a deeper layer of geopolitical tension, and expected the Taliban government to align closely with its strategic interests after 2021. Taliban's independent foreign policy, including outreach to regional rivals like...
Thank you so much, Mr. Reza. Before I let you go, I'd like to ask you this final question. Do you think there is a realistic path to peace between Pakistan and Afghanistan? And what would have to happen for the fighting to stop?
Governments justify their military actions through security narratives. Their perspectives differ sharply. Pakistan's position is that militant groups, particularly the TTP, operate from Afghan territory and pose a direct threat to Pakistan's internal security. Islamabad argues that cross-border strikes are defensive measures aimed at preventing attacks and pressuring the Taliban authorities to take action against these groups. Taliban authorities in Afghanistan reject these accusations and frame Pakistan's strikes as violations of Afghan sovereignty. They argue that Pakistan's actions undermine regional stability and that Afghanistan has the right to respond to any breach of its territory. Behind these official narratives lies a deeper layer of geopolitical tension, and expected the Taliban government to align closely with its strategic interests after 2021. Taliban's independent foreign policy, including outreach to regional rivals like India,